Good morning? No, don't move. Don't scroll. Don't even blink yet. Because the moment you clicked this video, something very uncomfortable happened. I saw you. Not the version you show the world. The polite smile, the controlled voice, the careful mask that keeps everyone comfortable. No, no, no. I saw the real you. The version that was built in silence. The one that people accidentally created when they thought they were just hurting another ordinary person. And I'll be honest with you. I'm actually sick after seeing what they did to you. Not the dramatic kind of sick. Not the, oh, that's unfortunate kind of sick people say when they want to sound sympathetic. I mean stomach-turning, reality-breaking sick. Because what they did to you, this should be illegal. But the funny part, it is perfectly legal. That's the joke. See, the world doesn't punish people for breaking you. It only punishes people for breaking rules. And those two things, oh, they're very different. You see, people can humiliate you, betray you, gaslight you, abandon you when you're bleeding, smile while they poison your reputation, laugh when you fall, and the world shrugs. But the moment you decide to stop playing the harmless little character they assigned to you, suddenly you're the problem. Isn't that adorable? You see, what happened to you wasn't random. No, people love to pretend cruelty is an accident. They say things like, they didn't mean it, or you're overthinking. But you and I both know something terrifying. Some of them meant every single second of it. They studied your kindness like a blueprint. They tested your patience like a laboratory experiment. They pushed and pushed and pushed because they believed something about you, something very dangerous. They believed you were safe to hurt. You were the one who forgave too quickly, the one who tried to understand everyone, the one who absorbed pain like a sponge because you thought empathy made you strong. And maybe it did. But here's the paradox no one tells you. The world respects controlled darkness more than innocent light. Saints get crucified, but demons get feared. And fear is a currency the world understands very well. Now don't misunderstand me. I'm not telling you to become cruel. Cruelty is predictable, and predictable people are easy to destroy. What I'm talking about is something much more unsettling, unpredictability, because the moment someone realizes they misjudged you, that's when their confidence cracks. That's when their brain starts whispering questions. Wait, did we push too far? Did we create something we can't control? And that moment, oh, that moment is priceless. Because pain does something fascinating to a human mind. Most people think pain destroys you, but real pain, the kind you survived, it mutates you. Pain strips illusions. Pain burns naivety. Pain forces you to see people exactly as they are. And once you see that truth, you can never go back to being harmless again. That's what scares them. They liked you better when you were innocent, when you trusted easily, when you apologized for things that weren't your fault. But the version of you watching this right now is not the same creature they bullied. No, you're something much more complicated now. You understand both sides of the human mind. The angel that wants peace, and the demon that knows exactly how far people will go when they smell weakness. Most people only live on one side of that line. But you've seen both worlds, and that gives you a terrifying advantage, because you know something they don't. You know that goodness without boundaries invites predators. But darkness without control creates monsters. So the real power is standing right in the middle. Half light, half shadow, calm enough to be peaceful, but unpredictable enough to make people very careful about crossing you again. You see, the biggest mistake they made was thinking their cruelty would shrink you. They believed humiliation would silence you. They believed betrayal would break your spirit. But pain doesn't always destroy people. Sometimes, pain reforges them like steel in a furnace. Every insult was heat. Every betrayal was pressure. Every moment you thought you couldn't survive was actually transforming you. And now here you are, still breathing, still thinking, still watching. And that is the part that makes people uncomfortable. Because the version of you that survived all of that is not easy to manipulate anymore. You notice things faster. You read intentions behind words. You see the masks people wear. And once someone learns how the game works, they stop being easy to play. That's why people who hurt you often get nervous when you change. They don't like the quiet confidence. They don't like the calm silence. They don't like the fact that you stopped explaining yourself. Because deep down, they know something. They know the person they used to control is gone. And the person who replaced them might not tolerate the same disrespect twice. So let me ask you something, not as a motivational speaker, not as a therapist, but as someone who understands chaos very well. What are you going to do with the power your pain gave you? Will you become bitter? That's the easy path. Will you become cruel? That's the predictable path. Or will you become something far more dangerous? A person who understands darkness, but refuses to be consumed by it. A person who can smile peacefully, while knowing exactly how ruthless the world can be. A person who doesn't need revenge, because their growth alone becomes the most unsettling response imaginable. You see, the real punchline of this whole story is simple. The people who tried to destroy you, they thought they were dealing with a fragile mind. They thought they were playing with something harmless. But what they didn't realize is that every time they pushed you down, they were accidentally building the exact person they would never be able to control again. And that's the most beautiful joke in the world. So breathe slowly, lift your head, and remember this one truth. You didn't survive all of that pain to remain the same person. You survived it to become someone the world has to think twice about underestimating again. You're still here. Good. That means something inside you is listening now, not just hearing words, but recognizing them. Because the truth is, people like you don't arrive at this moment by accident. No. You were manufactured here. Piece by piece, pain by pain, betrayal by betrayal. And the most disturbing part, the people who hurt you think the story ended when they walked away. They think they were just another chapter in your life. But they weren't. They were the furnace. They were the fire that melted the old version of you. You see, society loves the idea of a good person, a saint, a quiet soul who forgives endlessly, tolerates endlessly, absorbs endlessly. But the world also quietly feeds on those people. Because saints don't fight back. Saints don't disrupt the system. Saints don't make anyone uncomfortable. But something happened to you along the way. Something subtle, something dangerous. You began noticing patterns. You noticed how people respect confidence but exploit kindness. You noticed how the loudest liars often walk away admired, while the quiet truth-tellers walk away doubting themselves. You noticed something even darker. People will push you as far as they think they can get away with. Not because they're evil villains in some comic book story, but because human nature is lazy. It tests boundaries like a child touching a hot stove. If there's no consequence, they keep pushing and pushing and pushing until one day they meet someone who doesn't react the way they expected. That moment is when the game changes, because people are comfortable when they can predict you. Predictable kindness, predictable forgiveness, predictable patience. But the second you become unpredictable, everything shifts. Not violent, not chaotic, just impossible to categorize. You stop explaining yourself. You stop begging for understanding. You stop chasing approval from people who already decided how they want to see you. And that silence, that calm detachment, oh, it terrifies them, because people are used to controlling narratives. They're used to pushing you into emotional reactions they can manipulate. But when someone stands there calmly, observing, it creates a psychological vacuum. People start projecting their own fears into that silence. Are they angry? Are they planning something? Do they hate me? No, you're simply awake now. You see the board, you see the pieces, and once someone understands the board, they stop playing like a pawn. That doesn't mean you become cruel. Cruelty is childish. Cruel people are predictable creatures. They bark loudly because they're terrified of being ignored. Real power is quieter than that. Real power walks into a room and says nothing, and somehow the entire atmosphere shifts. That's the kind of strength pain can give you, if you allow it to evolve you instead of poisoning you. Because pain offers two roads. One leads to bitterness. That road is crowded. Millions of people walking around angry at ghosts from their past, replaying the same wounds until their personality becomes nothing but scar tissue. But the other road, oh, that road is rare. That road leads to transformation, where the pain becomes information instead of identity, where every betrayal becomes a lesson in reading human behavior, where every humiliation becomes proof that survival is already inside you. That's the road that creates people who are calm in chaos, people who are patient in storms, people who don't crumble when life becomes unpredictable. And the world hates those people. Do you know why? Because the world runs on manipulation. Advertisements manipulate. Politics manipulate. Social circles manipulate. Even friendships sometimes become quiet little negotiations of power. But someone who understands manipulation and refuses to be controlled by it, that person becomes extremely difficult to influence. And difficult people make others uncomfortable. That's why people might call you cold, or distant, or intimidating. But what they're really sensing is the fact that they can't easily move you anymore. You see, once someone evolves through pain, they gain something priceless: perspective. They stop obsessing over the opinions of people who don't understand them. They stop chasing validation from crowds that change their minds every 5 minutes. They stop shrinking themselves to fit rooms that were never designed for them. And suddenly, life becomes simpler. Not easier, but clearer. You know what you tolerate. You know what you walk away from. You know the difference between genuine connection and convenient companionship. And the funniest part, the same people who underestimated you before often become confused by your transformation. They remember the old version of you, the one who tolerated everything, the one who tried to keep peace at any cost. But they don't recognize this new version, the one who smiles calmly, yet refuses to accept disrespect, the one who listens quietly, yet refuses to be manipulated, the one who walks away without explanation, because they no longer need permission to protect their peace. And that transformation, it scares people, because when someone evolves like that, it forces others to confront something uncomfortable, their own stagnation. You see, many people stay exactly the same for decades. Same patterns, same mistakes, same emotional reactions, but someone who survives deep pain and uses it to grow breaks that cycle. They become unpredictable. They become independent. They become impossible to control with guilt or fear. And that's when the real joke appears. The people who tried to destroy you were unknowingly participating in your evolution. They thought they were weakening you, but every challenge was a workout for your mind. Every betrayal sharpened your awareness. Every lonely night forced you to become comfortable with yourself. And once someone becomes comfortable alone, they become very difficult to manipulate with abandonment. Think about that. The world threatens people with loneliness constantly. Fit in, or you'll be alone. Agree with us, or you'll be excluded. But someone who already faced solitude, someone who already survived nights where no one understood them, is not easily threatened by those tactics. That's freedom, real freedom. Not the kind sold in motivational posters, the kind that exists quietly inside a mind that understands its own worth. So listen carefully now, because this is the part people rarely say out loud. You don't need revenge. Revenge keeps you chained to the past. You don't need validation. Validation from the wrong people is just another form of control. What you need is evolution. Continuous, quiet, that is unstoppable evolution. The kind that turns past pain into psychological strength. The kind that turns betrayal into sharper instincts. The kind that turns silence into confidence. Because the most unsettling thing you can do is become stronger than the experiences that were meant to break you. And one day, without warning, the people who underestimated you will notice something strange. You're calm, you're focused, you're moving forward while they're still replaying old stories. And in that moment, they'll finally understand something. They didn't destroy you, they revealed you. And once someone is revealed, once someone discovers their real strength, they become something the world can't easily categorize anymore. Not a victim, not a villain, not a saint. Something much more complicated, something balanced between light and shadow. Someone who understands kindness, but refuses to be naive. Someone who understands darkness, but refuses to become cruel. Someone who has walked through chaos and emerged with clarity. And that kind of person is very hard to stop. So the next time someone tries to remind you of your past, smile, because they're remembering the version of you that existed before the transformation. And the version of you watching this right now is something entirely different, something stronger, something sharper, something that pain accidentally created. And the world hasn't even begun to understand what that version of you is capable of yet. Still here? Interesting. Most people would have left by now, not because they're busy, not because they're bored, but because the truth make people uncomfortable, and discomfort is something the average mind runs from like fire. But you didn't. You stayed, which means something inside you is different, not better, not worse, just different. And difference is dangerous in a world addicted to conformity. You see, society has this little unspoken agreement. Everyone pretends. Everyone plays their role, Everyone smiles at things that quietly suffocate them, and in return, they're allowed to exist without being questioned too deeply. But people like you accidentally broke that agreement, because when you've been through the things you've been through, something happens to your perception. You stop believing the performance. You see the nervous laughter. You see the fragile egos hiding behind arrogance. You see the quiet insecurity behind the loudest voices in the room. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like discovering a hidden layer of reality, a psychological X-ray vision. Suddenly conversations sound different. Compliments feel calculated. Friendships reveal invisible power dynamics. You start noticing how people subtly compete, compare, manipulate, not always maliciously, sometimes just instinctively. Humans are strange creatures. They crave connection, but they also crave control. And when someone can't control you anymore, they try something else. They try to define you, label you, box you into a narrative that makes them feel comfortable again. Oh, they changed. They're not the same anymore. They became cold. But what they're really saying is this: you stopped behaving in a way that benefits us. And that's the part that makes me laugh, because the world calls it selfish when you start protecting your energy. But it calls it leadership when powerful people do the exact same thing. Isn't that funny? The same behavior gets two different names depending on who's doing it. If you're weak, they call it arrogance. If you're powerful, they call it confidence. If you're quiet, they call it awkward. If you're successful, they call it mysterious. Perception is a flexible little creature. And once you understand that, you stop wasting energy trying to control how everyone sees you, because that game never ends. People will see what they want to see. The insecure will see a threat. The bitter will see arrogance. The manipulative will see resistance. But the wise will recognize something rare. Someone who survived enough chaos to develop clarity. And clarity is terrifying to people who live in comfortable illusions. You see, the majority of the world prefers simple stories: hero, villain, good, bad, right or wrong. But reality is messy. Reality lives in gray areas, and people who've suffered enough to understand that become very difficult to manipulate, because manipulation requires emotional predictability. Push this button, get this reaction. But when someone becomes self-aware, the buttons stop working. You pause before reacting. You observe before trusting. You listen more than you speak. And suddenly the people who used to control situations start feeling uncertain around you, not because you're threatening them, but because they can't read you anymore. And humans hate uncertainty. It activates something ancient in the brain, something primal. Uncertainty feels like danger, even when it isn't. That's why unpredictable people make others nervous. Not violent unpredictability. That's obvious. No. I'm talking about quiet unpredictability. The calm person who doesn't overshare. The composed person who doesn't react emotionally to every insult. The person who can walk away from disrespect without creating a dramatic scene. That kind of unpredictability creates psychological pressure. People start questioning themselves. Why didn't they react? Did I misjudge them? Are they stronger than I thought? And that moment of doubt is the beginning of respect. Respect doesn't come from begging. Respect doesn't come from explaining yourself endlessly. Respect comes from boundaries, clear, quiet, unapologetic boundaries. And boundaries are something pain teaches better than any philosophy book ever could. Because once you've experienced what it feels like to be disrespected, manipulated, or abandoned, your mind starts developing alarms, little signals that whisper, "This situation feels familiar. Be careful. Don't ignore this pattern again." Those alarms are not paranoia. They're intelligence. Experience turned into instinct. And instinct is something the world desperately needs more of. You see, modern life trains people to ignore their instincts, ignore discomfort, ignore intuition, ignore red flags, smile, be polite, keep the peace. But sometimes keeping the peace means betraying yourself. And once you realize that, you stop prioritizing comfort over truth. You become someone who can sit with uncomfortable realities. You accept that not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will like you. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. And that realization, that quiet, emotional independence, is one of the most powerful psychological shifts a person can experience. Because when you stop needing everyone's approval, you become free. Free to walk away. Free to say no. Free to choose environments that actually respect your presence. And that freedom, it changes how you carry yourself. You stand differently. You speak differently. You move through life with a subtle confidence that doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't need to. Confidence doesn't beg to be noticed. It simply exists. And people feel it, even if they can't explain why. That's the strange thing about psychological energy. Humans are incredibly sensitive to it. We sense tension. We sense insecurity. We sense authenticity. And someone who survived deep hardship and turned it into wisdom radiates something unmistakable. Not arrogance, not superiority, just stability. A calm center in a chaotic world, and people gravitate toward that. Even the ones who once underestimated you, even the ones who once doubted you, because stability is rare, and rare things always become valuable eventually. So when you look back at everything that happened, all the disrespect, all the misunderstandings, all the moments where you felt invisible, try to see it differently, not as wasted suffering, but as training, unintentional training, training that forced you to develop emotional intelligence, training that taught you resilience, training that sharpened your awareness of human behavior, because people who have never struggled deeply often remain fragile. The first serious storm breaks them, but people who've walked through fire become something else entirely. They become adaptable. They become strategic. They become capable of navigating chaos without losing themselves. And that ability, that quiet psychological strength, is something no one can take from you. Not critics, not doubters, not even the people who once tried to tear you apart. Because those experiences are now part of your foundation, part of the architecture of your mind.